Welcome back. We're bringing you your tropical update here this morning. We're talking about a few new developments out in the Atlantic, and we want to give you a heads up on those because some of these could have some impacts out across the Gulf Coast as we move through the next 5 days. We want to point out this new system that we're keeping a close eye on. This disturbance here with the X right near Puerto Rico has a 10% chance of developing into our next named storm here within the next 5 days. That potential would be out around the Gulf. So this is something that we're going to be keeping a very close eye on. Even if it doesn't hold together, it has a very low chance of doing so. It could still bring an increased flow of moisture to the region, and that means a stormier forecast for areas out along the Gulf Coast. So here's how this all plans out for us here. We have steering high pressure. That's going to kind of keep the flow in the atmosphere out to the west. So anything that develops out here is going to track westward toward Florida, toward the Gulf. Now this system here, this tropical wave, is going to follow that path, but once it nears Florida, its track is going to be a little bit more uncertain. It has the potential to turn north or potentially keep a more westerly track. So this is something we'll continue to monitor here as we move through the next few days. Now another system we're keeping a close eye on out in the Atlantic, a tropical depression that has developed here in the last day. This is just off the coast of Africa near Cabo Verde. It has winds at 35 miles per hour and it's having a west-northwesterly track. So what this really means for us is not much. This storm, as it continues to strengthen into a tropical storm here in the next day or so, is going to make a more northwesterly turn and by Wednesday morning become Category 1 hurricane, kind of moving out right into the middle of the Atlantic, not impacting any land masses. You can see that here on our ensemble forecast. Most of these spaghetti plots keep with that cone of uncertainty on that northwesterly track here as we move through the next few days. We do have a few more areas that we're going to keep a close eye on. This is the one that we just outlined here, tracking off into the middle of the Atlantic, but a couple more waves moving off the coast of Africa. We'll be watching these closely for more development as we move into next week. Now, the Atlantic is becoming more active. This is because sea surface temperatures are now near or even warmer than normal. Really over the past month, it's been a little cooler than normal, which is why it hasn't been too active, but we're starting to see that turn around. Wind shear is decreasing. That's good news for storm development, and more waves are coming off the African coast. And the more waves we see, the higher chance we have of one of those turning into our next named storm. So you'll want to stay with us as we continue to track the tropics heading into peak hurricane season. Now I want to send you out to St. Paul, Minnesota. This is a pretty quiet view for now, but headed into the afternoon, Marcus, it's not going to look like this.
Yeah, we're talking about storm chances across St. Paul and across much of Iowa and even into Wisconsin as we head throughout the day today. But at this point, we really have to see how clouds start to break up across the region, because if we have more cloud cover throughout the day, that could suppress any showers and storms that develop. But let's take a look at the forecast, and in particular, let's focus in on a tornado threat that's in place across places like Minnesota, into Wisconsin, into Iowa. We're talking about that isolated threat for tornadoes. We're also talking about a hail and wind potential, and in particular, as we focus in on the wind potential, it really is expanded across parts of the Dakotas, eastern parts of the Dakotas, into Minnesota, into Wisconsin, and even into parts of Iowa and northern parts of Kansas. So active weather is on the way, and as we look at the high resolution models, this one in particular shows that we'll have some rain showers since the storm's already out there this morning, but then more of that activity as we head toward lunchtime, and still even more of that as we head toward the late evening hours. And by 8 p.m. we could be dealing with some intense showers and storms moving across northern and central parts of Minnesota, and even a few more storms moving across parts of Nebraska as well. So active weather is in the forecast. Heavy rain is in the forecast, and that unfortunately means that a flooding threat is in the forecast as well. Now we'll show you the forecast beyond Friday, late in the afternoon, heading into Saturday. We're still dealing with rain moving across parts of Wisconsin and Iowa, and we'll see more moisture across some of these same areas as we head throughout the next few days, including as we head toward Labor Day. So wet conditions are possible across northern Illinois even as we head toward Labor Day. In the meantime, when we look at Minneapolis, we're dealing with temperatures today in the low 80s, but then Sunday and Monday will be in the upper 70s with scattered showers around. Make sure you stay tuned. We'll be back in a few moments.